Welcome to the Overheard Podcast, recorded live in Banff. My name is Daniel Rudel. With me always is my co-host,
Matty Rage. Let's go.
What is up? If it is your first time joining us, please don't forget to give us a little like and subscribe. We check the analytics every week. An astounding number of people are first-time listeners.
No doubt.
So if it's your first time, please hit the like and subscribe. Do us a huge favor. It helps us bring you way more episodes and local content from Banff, Canmore, Lake Louise, and beyond, all over the Bow Valley. Before we get too far into things, we'd like to welcome our guest to the show, Rachael. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to check in with our friends over at Drink Shaft. Before we get too far into things, we'll be back with you in 20 seconds.
All right, we're back, baby.
We're back. Autumn hits different in Banff. We got crisp air, golden larches, and early sunsets. Keep that mountain energy going with Drink Shaft, the non-alcoholic, all-natural espresso energy drink made for the adventure lifestyle. Fall is all about fresh starts, cozy vibes, and staying sharp. That's why we're going to fall into Shaft. Clean energy for everyone. It is now available in over 800 stores all across Western Canada, including Townhouse Liquor right in Banff. So go get yours today. Seasons change, but Drink Shaft always stays the same. We're here to talk about a very important topic today. It isn't today, but we are in Canmore at the Civic Center talking to Rachael. We're here to shed some light on the upcoming International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which is coming up on December 3rd. If you don't know Rachael, Rachael grew up right here in Canmore before her family moved east to the Maritimes, and after completing her BA in sociology with a certification in diversity, equity, and inclusion from Mount Allison University, she eventually found her way back to Alberta and back home to Canmore in 2022. As a young adult living with cerebral palsy and spastic diplegia, Rachael has spent much of her life navigating systems, spaces, and expectations that weren't built with disability in mind. She became Mount Allison University's first ever disability representative, and her advocacy didn't stop there. Her experiences were also featured in Canmore Museum exhibit highlighting local youth who shaped this community. Today, she continues to push for accessibility, equity, and representation in the Bow Valley, speaking openly about the realities of employment barriers, the impacts of the cutback of the AISH, and the uncertainty around the new ADAP program. The ongoing challenges of housing and food security, and the daily accessibility obstacles that many residents often never notice. This is going to be an important one, so let's get right into it. How's your day going so far?
It's good. It just started raining a lot, but I managed to get here before that, so
Nice.
It's good. How about you?
Yeah, pretty good. I had to jet to the city this morning. It was pouring rain the whole way,
Yes.
kind of flirting that freezing line, so silver lining is maybe it'll be a pow day tomorrow in the mountains. Who knows?
Wasn't bad Banff this morning. I know. I woke up pretty late. I slept until 10. That's late for me.
Yeah.
I made the cat wait for breakfast. You know how it goes.
Right on. So, Rachael, you grew up in Canmore, left for school, and eventually found your way back. What called you back to Canmore?
It's really interesting. First of all, thanks for having me on here. This is my first podcast, so
No
it's
problem.
exciting.
Thanks for chatting with us.
And I'm excited to be here, just representing the town's IDPD day this year and the committee. And so what brought me back to Canmore? I feel like I always felt really connected to the mountains here and the way of life. I was born and raised here. My parents actually owned the local toy store.
Oh, nice.
Cool.
Yeah, and then I moved when I was 12, and I never came back at all, just didn't have the opportunity. And when I graduated university, I don't know what it was. I wanted to come home. I wanted to come back to the mountains, and I wasn't sure for how long it would be, if I would stay permanently, but 3 years later, I'm here. And yeah, it's changed tremendously, but very happy to be back.
For sure. I'm sure since you were a young person, a lot has changed in the Bow Valley. Cost of living, accessibility, all these things often change drastically.
In 20 years, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for those listeners that might not fully understand, we said in your description that you live with cerebral palsy and spastic diplegia. How does that affect your day-to-day life here in Canmore?
Yeah, so cerebral palsy is a neuromuscular disorder. It's actually the most common neuromuscular disorder in the world that is congenital, so meaning like it happens at birth, usually from a lack of oxygen. But what it means is that the messages that come from the brain that tell the muscles to contract don't fire properly. And so with spastic diplegia, which is the type that I have, it just means that the muscles are spasming. And there's millions of people around the world that have it, but what's really interesting is that it's a huge umbrella, so people can be completely immobile and not be able to speak, whereas other people, you wouldn't even know that they have it. So
For sure. I mean, what is your experience as far as physical symptoms? So you said you have tensing or...
Yeah, so the uncontrollable muscle movements happen, and when you like tense your arm and you're like, and it's like working out or whatever, that's what my legs are, but basically all the time.
All the time.
And I do different therapies to help relax myself and my muscles, but yeah, it's a lifelong disability, and it really requires you to be active and take an active part in your health. Otherwise, it doesn't deteriorate, but aging sucks. And so aging with any serious condition just adds complication. So yeah, I don't know, I deal with a lot of pain and fatigue. I also live with like post-concussion syndrome as well, because I've fallen quite a bit as a result of this. So yeah, it's a whole amalgamation of things, but yeah, it's a common disability. But it's amazing how many people think I have MS or something else, and they haven't heard of it.
Is that pretty common? People they're like misdiagnosing you based off what they see?
Yeah, they're like, oh, I have an uncle who has MS, and I'm like, cool, I don't have MS. But so yeah, that does happen. I don't mind though. People just don't. If you're not around it, you don't see it.
For sure, it's more out of ignorance than anything malicious.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
or trying to relate in that sense.
Yes.
You became the first disability representative at the Mount Allison University. What sparked that whole journey?
So I served as a student representative on the Senate. They were looking for a student representative on their accessibility committee, so I did that for 3 years during my degree. And then at the last year or two, I was trying to get a disability representative position going for the Students' Union, because there was a Black student representative, an LGBTQ plus student representative. Like there was all these different categories, but there was no disability representative. And I brought it up, and the people in charge at the time kind of brushed it off. But then I had a really kick-ass classmate who kind of backed me up, and she's the one that got the position actually enshrined, so to speak, into the Students' Union. And then I ran the election and got elected, and I already felt like I was passionate about accessibility and inclusivity, so it just felt kind of natural to do that. But it was scary for sure, like the first person ever being in a new position, because all the other people, all the other representatives and senators, they had sort of a guidebook of what their predecessors had done, right? But I didn't have that, so.
You wrote the book.
I did.
Just started from scratch, eh?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
What were some of your roles in that position? What were you charged with doing?
So the students' union within universities is there to represent the student body to the administration, which is important because sometimes administrations, like to make decisions without consulting the actual students of the school that are paying to be there. So it's a very robust student union, which I really appreciated for such a small school. Like Mount Allison is just over 2,000 students. It's in Sackville in New Brunswick, small town, 4,000 people.
Nice.
So Canmore felt quite big coming back here. But I really just kept going with my advocacy efforts. I was like the facilities management most biggest pain in the butt because I was always like, there needs to be a ramp here, like this isn't level. There wasn't really much signage or like use of Braille for people with visual disabilities, so I got some of that going. Just ensuring that there were proper door opening buttons where there was supposed to be. I just got handrails added everywhere. I didn't know how it was possible that I couldn't go into the chapel for years because there was no ramp or no anything. And there was a couple of students that were in wheelchairs, so they had an even more difficult time. And it was a wide variety of things. And then beyond the infrastructural challenges, I also worked on a task force to identify further barriers and work on those in terms of how people discuss disability, how it's discussed in the classroom, et cetera.
For sure. I mean, that's a big topic of what I wanted to talk about today, and we will get into it further, is people's judgment towards it maybe, or people's attitude towards it. Like, do you find when you're trying to get these changes made at the university, were you found with pushback at all?
Oh, all the time, yeah.
Which seems wild. Like it.
Yeah, well, I started my degree in 2011, and I was in school for almost the whole decade. I took some time off, but I really just took my time. I took a few courses at a time. The pushback, I think, just to be taken seriously, I think was the biggest thing. And when I would advocate for changes, I feel like people would be like, "Oh, this is just Rachael, asking for things." But I was there to represent students.
For sure.
I did surveys and I asked people. It wasn't just what I thought needed to be.
Well,
different.
often the changes that are so necessary for people with disabilities don't inconvenience people without disabilities.
Yeah, it actually
Right?
makes their lives better,
Yeah.
right? So if you put a ramp in, you have people that get acquired injuries, that's helpful.
Yeah. It just
Yeah.
makes me think I was watching a film at the recent film fest all about mountain bike trails.
Yeah.
And they were rebuilding the mountain bike trail system in Vermont to be accessible for
cool.
adaptive bicycles. But the guy that was building the trails in the first place, he's like, knowing this beforehand, it wouldn't have been that difficult to build it properly the first time. Rather than going back and redoing it a second time.
It's good that they redid it.
It's crazy. It's the biggest adaptive system in the world
That's
for
wild.
mountain biking. Yeah.
I would love to go there. That'd
Go
be
check
cool
it out.
if that was around here.
Right? I mean, it kind of gets you thinking about
Yeah.
it here, right?
Absolutely.
How did your degree in sociology and the DEI certification, how does that influence how you see accessibility and inclusion in our community today?
It definitely, my education really helped infuse my personal character and values, and I think that goes for anything that you study in school if you're passionate about it. But in terms of sociology, I mean, it really has a backing in. It's not just, the systematic study of society, which is what it is, but it really has a human rights foundation to it, and sort of approaching the theory from that perspective, whether you're studying, the older theories or whether you're doing contemporary work. And so, I think it just made me even more passionate and pissed off
Well, yeah, fair. If you look at the past,
yeah,
yeah.
because people were treated like even worse, right?
for sure.
And there was all these parallels, so like talking about, whether it's like the black movement or like the women's rights movement. There's all these parallels to what people with disabilities go through.
For sure.
But in Canada, there hasn't been as much progress as like other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So like Norway, for example, is really far ahead in their disability policy. And certain parts of America, but at least in America, they have the Americans with Disabilities Act, so it's a national policy. We don't have anything like that in Canada.
Why?
How does that differ from our policies here?
Yeah, so of course we have the Charter of Human Rights, but the point about having a national act is that, buildings have to be built or adapted in the same way across the board to be
Okay.
accessible, or you have a government office that you can lodge a complaint with if, say, you find something that's not accessible or you're discriminated against. Like here, you would just submit a complaint to like the Human Rights Tribunal, but in America, they have like a whole office for that.
Deals with that specifically, whereas
Yeah.
like Human Rights Tribunal might deal with a whole bunch of inquiries.
Yeah,
a
and
whole
takes
bunch of
forever.
Yeah.
And it just gives a real backing for people to be able to advocate for themselves. And then in Norwegian countries, they just have more accessibility in general. Like they have staircases with ramps built into them.
Oh,
So the stairs are actually built around the ramps.
Cool.
As
okay.
opposed to just fitting in a ramp.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of like instead of having it as an afterthought, they're like, this is
They
it's
put it
going
in.
right into the design. That's it.
Yeah, and it makes so much more sense because then it's just inclusive of everyone. And like, what if you don't want to take the stairs and you're able-bodied? Then you just walk up the ramp.
Well, also, I mean, having an able body as you age is not always going to be able neither. So
Exactly.
It's, right? I mean, these changes.
Aging population.
Exactly, right? So having these, I guess, rules, I'd say, or...
Yeah, like an infrastructural oversight.
Yeah, like having that implemented would definitely save you down the road. I was hoping we could touch a little bit about DEI specifically. Now, DEI, of course, given the current political climate, gets a lot of, I think, unnecessary backlash. Like people seem to think that DEI is the enemy these days.
Yes.
Can you explain to us a little bit more about what it actually is?
Yeah, for sure. So DEI just stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so the diversity part translates to representation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's organizations or institutions that want to make sure that all people are represented, regardless of race, class, disability, gender, whatever subcategory of marginalization you're part of, that there's proper representation and that people feel included. Like it's not always some big heavy policy thing. Sometimes it's just even on the micro level, treating each other with respect. And I think and then the equity part is really interesting, and I always like to point this out. People get confused between equality and equity. So equity just means putting everyone on a level playing field.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't mean that people that are marginalized or from those communities necessarily get more opportunities. It just means that they're regarded with the same merit.
So that's it. This is where the
Yeah.
DEI thing comes in, is the whole assumption that DEI is used to give, say, people without the merit a position or
Yeah.
a job over someone else, which
Yeah.
is usually like the weird
That's not the
flip of
case
it.
at all. Yeah,
Yeah.
If two people went in for a job interview and one of them had a disability, but they had the same qualifications, it doesn't mean that the person with the disability is automatically going to get the position. Also, companies that have these policies don't necessarily follow them.
Okay.
Right? Like they can say that they have these policies because it sounds good,
Yeah.
and then not actually follow that at all. I would say that most companies, businesses in our day and age, and nonprofit organizations all say that they're inclusive, right?
Yeah.
But it's whether or not they actually do the legwork. And in my experience, it's been that they don't.
What's the difference between, say, an entity that has done the legwork and one that hasn't?
Well, I think that's a good question.
Like, is there clear signs when you're looking at it from an outside perspective?
No, you can't really tell.
Because you kind of see that around
can't
certain
tell.
topics too, right? Like,
Yeah.
without naming too many, you'll see like a certain time of year come around, everyone's supporting the certain topic, and it's like, do they really support that cause?
Yeah,
or
they
are
just support it for that day or
right?
that month. That kind of virtue signaling without actually being there to support it. I think it's also become kind of popular for companies to say that they're inclusive. Almost to gain more of a following. I think when they actually put their heart into it, you can see it in their policies. So, for example, nonprofit organizations tend to be better at it because their baseline is that they care about people.
Yeah.
So it would be that, for example, if someone with a disability got a job position, they would ask you what accommodations you would need, and then you would sit down and have a discussion. It wouldn't be that you would get everything you would ask for, versus another company might be not ask you at all.
Instead of not asking at all, having it
Right.
become a problem and having you have to then address it versus
Right.
being ahead of that curve
Yeah.
and saying, hey, how can we better accommodate?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even just the level of like open-mindedness to difference, and the level of education that that governments or people in higher up positions actually have about people's differences, as opposed to just saying, we welcome everyone. It's like, well, but what do you know about the lived experience of those individuals, and how are you supporting them? And then it's not always just a big institutional policy either. It's just, for me, it's just about being respectful. And that goes to everyone, even if you're not in nobody deserves to be treated better or worse than somebody else.
100%.
Like, everyone deserves the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like that's ever been an issue here in the Bow Valley, being treated less than for having a disability?
Yeah, honestly, I find Canmore no different than anywhere else I've lived in terms of people are very kind here, but I struggle with being taken seriously, especially when I use my walker. Like, if I have a walking aid, then it's clear that I have a physical disability, and people do tend to treat me differently versus, on a better day, I might not be using it, and so it might not be as obvious. I think that all we can do is just try to spread education, but I also struggle with the fact that I always have to be doing the education because it's a lot of intellectual and emotional labor. It's very exhausting.
For sure. I mean, to be the one to always have to correct people or to, speak out, it's got to be emotionally taxing for sure.
Yeah, it is. It would be nice for just people to just kind of just get it, know. But I don't often see other people with disabilities around, especially in a town like this. I mean, everyone is so active.
Right, yeah.
Right? I really love Rocky Mountain Adaptive and Bow Valley Equine Adaptive, like these organizations that really strive to include people with differences in like outdoor living and outdoor activity.
For sure.
Because that's such a hallmark of the area, and it's wonderful.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know. You think, why not, right? If the tools are there and we have the means, like, it would be nice to see that grow a little bit more, give
Absolutely.
people more access, right?
And I would love to see it spread out into more like everyday conversations and just in how people treat one another. And there's a long way to go, but there's a very kind heart here in the Bow Valley. Like, I noticed that from when I was a kid, and I was so hoping that when I came back it would still be here. Like, it's just, people are just very kind, I find.
People are genuine, like the people that live here are genuinely nice
Yeah,
people, you know.
I think so.
I was listening to something earlier
Not
today.
everyone. Some people are assholes, of course.
But it
You know what I
actually
mean?
comes down to the population size that you live in, and it's like a human thing that the more people that you live in proximity to, the easier it is to not care about them, right? Like,
Oh,
Fair.
interesting.
yeah, so they find like the bigger the city centers
Bigger the-
are,
yeah, the less
you really
people-
care about your neighbor, because the chances of you bumping into them again
Is less.
is very low. Whereas here, it's
Yeah.
like,
I can attest to that. Like when I lived downtown Toronto, it was just like put your headphones
Yeah.
on, go. Like if somebody starts talking to you, just pretend they're
Yeah,
not
don't
even
look
there.
people in the eye because they're gonna
Yeah.
be like, "Why are you?
Yeah,
Do I know you?"
You just skip right over people. It's just like it is what it is, right? Like
so I think honestly, it has a lot to do with that being like the smaller communities. I feel
Yeah.
like just people are generally nicer because you're probably going to encounter that person
Yeah.
again. You know?
Absolutely, yeah.
What's one message or one kind of theme that you would like people from the Bow Valley to take away from the International Day of Persons with Disabilities?
Yeah, so the International Day of Persons with Disabilities was started by the United Nations about 30 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think about 30 years ago.
cool.
But not all countries have adopted it, right? It's like most policies that the UN sets out. Countries can choose to sign on, and thankfully Canada did. I think it's just really to raise awareness and to be like, hello, like we exist.
We're
like
here,
there's 5 or 6 million Canadians that identify as living with a disability, and if you take into work-related injuries and acquired disabilities, the number is higher. In Alberta alone, there's over 600,000 people that rely on disability assistance and that identify as having a disability. So I just think it's important for representation and celebration of achievements.
That's a very good point. Celebration,
And
for
at
sure.
the same time, what do we need to do to keep pushing forward? And that's going to be different according to regionalism too, like where you are in the country. There's more resources I find out here than where I was in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia.
What do you think that's due to? Just more
Money.
just more
Yeah.
resources being allocated. Obviously,
Yeah.
the eastern provinces, less population, less resources for that type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, I think Alberta just has a more robust medical system, and I've personally found that helpful. For example, I get Botox treatments in my legs to help with the spasticity, and I just got my first ones yesterday because I was nervous because Botox is a toxin.
Yeah, fair
Most people just think about it for aesthetics, right? But it was actually the main use of it is medical.
I had a buddy that got Botox to deal with he sweats too much.
Oh,
And
really?
he got, Botox would
That's
help
interesting.
with excessive sweating. So it's like
People get it for migraines quite a lot.
There you go, exactly.
well.
So
Did not know that. I
Yeah.
always figured it was just to make your lips look like a duck.
No. No.
So is that something that would not be accessible to you in the eastern provinces?
Well, exactly. So when I was in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, there wasn't actually funding for it. You had to pay for it out of pocket. I think it was like $700 for one shot, and
Crazy.
you usually need 6 of them every
Jeez.
3 months.
Like I've heard of treatments where it's like dozens or like 50 or 100.
Yeah, it depends on your severity and what you're
Yeah.
treating. But here it's paid for, so
How are your results so far?
I'm not gonna know for like a week. But
Okay.
I was nervous, so I was like, "Can you just do half the amount?" So I might not notice anything, but hopefully I will. But yeah, I find the medical system is better, but it's by far not perfect. There's still tons of people without family doctors, and especially if you have complications or a disability, like having to go to the emergency room with this complex medical condition. I mean, you're going to have more knowledge about it than the doctor you're speaking to.
Is that a frustrating experience?
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. Like my whole life.
Yeah.
Like and family doctors will tell you that they don't know much about especially neurological conditions for some reason. And there's not many neurologists anymore. Like that's not a profession people are really going into, or physiatry, which is physical medicine and rehabilitation, which covers like all neuromuscular disorders. People just aren't going into that. So that's an issue too.
Why do you think that is?
Probably just because it's really intense. Yeah.
Like very specialized.
Very specialized. You have to
field.
take so many more years of education, but yeah, having to do the educating to your own doctor is quite quite frustrating.
People already have distrust in the medical system, and then to show up and be presented with that situation must be.
I had my family doctor last time I was there. I mean, I don't even know if she practices anymore. It was back home where I grew up, and she's like, "Oh yeah, just take some penicillin here. We'll just write you down for some amoxicillin." I'm like, "Heather, that will kill me." She's like, "Oh,
interaction.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yes, right. You're allergic to that. Okay, we're not going to give you that." I was like, "Okay, well, a good thing I was paying attention." Like,
right.
I would have went home, popped 2 of those, and just went to the ER and been like, "I can't breathe. I'm dying. Hook it up." Like,
And that happens often.
That's
it's
crazy.
very scary.
It's like you've known me since I was like 4 years old. You think you would remember this, but I just look. At
Or
the-
just like review the chart.
Yeah, just like look at it and be like, maybe don't give this guy stuff that'll kill him.
Anyways, we are not here providing medical advice
No.
by any means.
No.
I'm not a doctor by any means.
I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, I dodged that one. So
Yeah.
that's good.
You got to pay attention. You got to be on it.
Oh, that's what I mean. It's like
Yeah.
that was like my family doctor for like 25 years.
Oh, God.
It was just like, dude, I'm telling you right now, not a good idea, but it happens.
Yeah.
So, this year, there's a whole bunch of Para World Cup events that coincide
Yes.
with IDPD.
Yes.
Right? Do you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on? And
Yeah. So, from the information that I've received working on the committee planning this event, we had a representative from the World Cup organization. I think it's the International Ski and Snowboard Federation.
Nice.
That's running it. So she came on and let us know that there will be 67 countries represented
Wild.
coming to this competition, with over I think it's over 10 different sports, almost 15 different sports.
we're talking snow sports or beyond
Snow sports,
that?
yeah.
Cool.
Snow sports. And I think it's happening all week long.
Amazing.
That week. So the first week of December, I think it goes into the second week as well. It's all happening up at the Nordic Center.
Amazing.
And you can, find out more information online. But the opening ceremony for it will be coinciding with our resource fair. So we're going to have the opening ceremony first, and then the IDPD will be introduced there.
Amazing.
And then, which is great.
Yeah.
So we can help each other. And it'll be a flag raising ceremony. So all the different countries represented, there'll be flag bearers.
Wow.
And then there'll be a resource fair after that.
What's involved in the resource fair?
Yeah, so there was one last year, but this one's going to be a bit more comprehensive. So it'll just be an overview. There'll be different booths of organizations in the area that support people with disabilities. So there'll be the Bow Valley Connection Center. They're the main ones, so they work with adults with developmental disabilities. Then there'll be Vacova, which is similar. They're based out of Calgary. Bow Valley Equine Adaptive and Rocky Mountain Adaptive will be there. I requested that the library just share a collection of books around disabilities that they
Amazing.
have in their catalog, so that'll be there. Just different booths for people to come talk and check out so they can know the resources in the area.
Are there any other events or anything special going on that you want to let us know about?
Yes, there is. I'll just pull up the calendar here. So on Wednesday, December 3rd at 11:30 to 1, there'll be a community lunch in Banff. That's a regular thing that happens, but we're just going to be highlighting the Disability Week there.
Amazing.
Then the same day in the morning, right here in this building in the Civic Center, in the FCSS office, it will be the sensory-friendly toys for toddlers.
Cool.
So ages 0 to 6, actually, kids can come and have a more sensory-friendly. So the lights will be dim. There'll be calming activities to do.
Instead of kids' toys or kids' play sometimes a little bit on the higher
activating
activity.
side. Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
And then that same day, 4 p.m., will be the opening ceremony for the World Cup. Then after that, at 5 p.m. to 6:30, we'll have the resource fair. Friday, December 5th, 7 p.m. at Arts Place will be a disability and differences themed open mic night.
Oh,
So
very cool.
open to anyone who wants to sign up and share. We ask that the performances focus on lived experiences of differences, disabilities, whether it's yourself or a family member. You can sing a song, do a poem, you can rap, whatever you want. I
nice.
often go to there's monthly open mic nights at Arts Place, and I often go because I'm a poet. I do poetry.
Oh, very cool.
Nice.
So I usually go and do my poetry. So I'll be hosting that alongside a local Canmore advocate called Sandy LeCure. And she was actually vital in getting the IDPD Day started last year for the
Awesome.
first time. Yeah, and then there will be a panel discussion on invisible disabilities on December 7th, Sunday. That's actually hosted by Canmore Pride, so all the participants identify as being part of the Pride community.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be a film screening on the 10th of the Matt Hadley story, and Matt Hadley is a local community member who had an accident and lives with disabilities, and it's his story of resilience and sport, and so people can sign up for that too. So lots of events.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Lots going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, all these events, they do great to shift public perception around disability. Do you think the biggest shift happens during the events or kind of afterwards in reflection?
You know, that's hard to gauge because I don't think anyone does any follow-up. We might put out a survey and see, how did you find the activities? I'll personally be observing that, but I would say likely after. It'll be good to see what people share. Like, we're doing more activities this year that the community can get involved in. I'm really excited for the open mic. I think that'll be awesome.
Nice.
That's usually really well attended. It's usually packed.
Amazing.
So yeah, I'm just excited to see who will take part, and hopefully we can, the more people with disabilities, and it doesn't even have to be I identify as being disabled. It's like you have an acquired injury, or you ended up only losing mobility of your arm or something, whatever your challenge is. Hopefully you can just help to bring awareness of it so that people just have a better understanding of, for me, it's the wider spectrum of ability, right? It's on a scale. And as we age and as we go through different injuries, and whether you grow up with a disability that's congenital like me, there's so many just different experiences, and you can't fit it all in one box.
Very true.
The boxes of stereotypes that we have are too small. And so for me, I just try and break those barriers.
Well, I think you're doing a good job so far.
No doubt.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Do you ever feel like people treat you differently, not out of malice, but maybe just because they're afraid to say the wrong thing, or?
People often treat me like I'm a fragile, porcelain doll or something. They don't want to come near me. And I know, I'm also a small woman, but I'm come on, this is so bad for the feminist movement. You're not gonna break me. I'm, people will walk all the way around me.
Try to avoid.
Or they're not sure if they should go ahead of me or. So that kind of thing, passing people on the street. And I know I've talked with wheelchair users, and they get that a lot. And then I have really nosy people that will just come up and be like, why are you using a walker?
Oh.
Really?
Like
There's
what?
No boundaries,
No.
no personal space. They're just
No.
hey,
It's what
what's
happened?
going on? Yeah,
Yeah, or they'll be
That's wild.
sometimes people will just start random conversations with me, and I can't make a quick exit because I literally can't. So I just have to be really overly polite and just hope that they'll
I hope that they'll just
Leave.
leave you
just leave on their
alone.
own.
So that takes some patience. And then I think too, like I've had trouble in workplaces, like in this community, like I've been offered multiple jobs and then have them rescind those offers once I show up with my walker and I'm moving around the space, and then they're like, oh, this is gonna take extra work, not really sure.
That's awkward.
How does that play out?
Yeah, I've had that happen twice. Wow. Yeah, and they never, discrimination is never outward.
Oh, well, that's the thing. It's like...
So they'll just be like, just feel like maybe the environment isn't like the best fit for you, and like it's like fast paced, so we just really need everybody kind of moving at the same pace, and maybe you could just find something like more suited to you.
Wild. And they'll just straight up tell you that?
Yes, and I actually first had that experience like not in Canmore. I was working in Moncton in New Brunswick, and I had that happen, and that was 10 years ago, so it doesn't really matter what age you are. And I get different responses if I show up in a room without my walker versus showing up with it.
Yeah, it'd be like...
Yeah, which I find
how so?
odd.
Do you feel you get more... I don't know. How does it change people's reactions?
Yeah, I get infantilized more. Even just the words that people use. Like, oh, honey, oh, sweetie, like, can I help you?
Oh, yeah, just like kind of patronizing.
Yeah,
like
patronizing.
Infantilize is a good...
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, versus if I'm not having that, people won't really say anything, or they'll just be like, oh, I wonder if she, like, rolled her ankle, or, like... And then I'm kind of treated differently from there.
Right.
Yeah, so that's really frustrating. And also to have that be like the first question when I walk in the room.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody else just gets like the normal questions, like, what do you do for work? Or where are you from? Like I get so what's up with your, like what's, people don't even want to say the word. They're like, what's going on with your, like your... so it's awkward, and I find that hasn't really changed across my lifetime, which I find odd, given that we're supposed to be more inclusive.
Yeah. Wild.
Well, that's it. Like,
it's just crazy.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people that maybe treat you differently or infantilize you or like have this attitude that maybe more care needs to be taken, or I feel like people with disabilities just want to be treated the same as everyone else.
We
right?
we do, and I know it's not an uncommon experience. I've talked with people in, like, there's lots of online groups that I'm part of, and people have the same sentiment and reaction, whether they're male or female, so it's not really a gendered thing either. I feel like I kind of don't really understand why that's the focus. Like, if an Indigenous person walks in the room, I'm not like, can you tell me your life story? And I want to know, like, what tribe you're from, and, like, are you an alcoholic? Like, I'm not going to ask those questions, but people are so rude, like, in their questions towards me. But I would just never ask those things. Like, if I see someone who's like visually impaired, I'm not going to ask them about that.
For sure.
It's just like if they bring it up, then the door's open. So I think I would just want the stereotyping to stop. People have said to me like, "Oh, so you must not work then." Or
so
like
making assumptions. What, I guess what would be your advice to like able-bodied people to just be more chill with disabled people? Like,
well, that's just it.
Yeah.
Just literally that. Just treat everyone the same, and don't bring up what is obviously different unless they bring it up themselves. And I use that in terms of race or gender, like anything.
I think you would always
bring
want to
it
look
up
for similarities instead of
the differences. Yeah.
It's just kind of a dick way to be honest.
It's intrusive as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just want to like exist in a space without.
You can be anonymous too as a person. Like, not everyone has to know your business. Like,
right. That's the other thing is like the invasive. I feel it's invasive.
Just come in and like, hey, what's going on? What's this? What's up?
I know
it's
we're
like,
sitting here and we're talking about it today, but like.
That's different, though,
Well,
because
yeah,
I volunteered from the committee to come on and speak about it. That's different than walking into a room and people being like, what's wrong with you? Yeah,
It's not like we just randomly saw you on the street and we're like, you're coming to do a podcast today.
Well, it's funny because that's kind of what happened at the university when they wanted me on the accessibility committee. They were like, we don't have too many obviously physically disabled people like at the school. And I'm like, cool, so I'll just be like the token.
Yeah.
So I actually took that and turned it around, and I'm like, I'm going to just make all these changes and advocate and be a pain in the ass. Like, you're going to ask me to be the token
like,
person?
careful what you wish
okay,
for,
I
yeah.
will. And then for the next 8 years, they're like, oh God, what did we do?
Good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just sort of figured that one out. And just don't put people in boxes. You know, people are more than their labels. Like, you're more
100%.
than, you know, living in Banff and running this podcast. Like, you're a whole
sure.
person.
Yeah.
And people just tend to, we like labels as humans. It makes us feel better, like, cognitively, to label everything.
Organizationally, maybe.
Yeah, but it's harmful. And so just treat everyone
Just be chill.
normally, and don't assume, I think the biggest thing, don't assume that people with disabilities are any less capable or any less cognitively.
Do you think that's like equally as insulting? Someone that's just like, oh, like, let me help you.
Yes,
Like,
it
is
drives
that,
me nuts.
Yeah, like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind asking for help when I need it.
That's-
That's
yeah.
what I do. But I've had people like literally take the handle of my walker and be like, "Let me get this," and people do that with people's wheelchairs. I've heard, like, they'll just like start
What?
pushing the wheelchair.
That's got to be like
Yeah.
frustrating as hell. I'd be like, dude, don't touch my shit.
Yeah,
Like,
I've
straight
seen
up.
that on different podcasts, people talking about their experiences
wild.
or just on blogs. Yeah, I don't know what it is with disabilities in general where people feel like they can, or that they need to, like, mother or father
Yeah.
parent the
Yeah,
person.
I'm doing fine, bro. Just back,
Yeah, it's like
back away.
I've had to live with this, so I kind of know how to figure out my
For
way.
sure. It's not like this interaction has changed my life in some
Yeah,
way.
exactly. And I think most people, whether they have an acquired disability or a congenital one, if they're born with it, like, people don't mind asking for help when they need it.
Yeah.
And there are some people with disabilities, and I'm sure this goes for, you know, for example, the athletes that are coming to visit town that are just like fiercely independent. They're
For
like,
sure.
I got this. Like, I don't
Well,
need
yeah, you're competing in a world event. It's like, dude, I'm just fine. Like, just back away. We're good.
In fact, I'm like highly sophisticated and trained
yeah,
in this.
yeah,
Yeah.
Like more capable than you.
yeah.
Yeah.
But believe it or not,
Yeah.
We talked about employment a little bit. Let's talk about housing. Housing already being a challenge in the Bow Valley. How does that translate to someone with disabilities?
Yeah.
Even more so, I would assume, because
It-
not everywhere is suited. Or,
So I'll just first talk on a wider scale. So I have lived at either end of this country, and I've also lived in Ontario. So I've lived in 6 different provinces.
jeez.
Housing, affordability, and accessibility is a problem across the board.
For sure.
The one good thing about Ontario and British Columbia is that they have their own disability legislation. So they have more housing that is accessible. And good thing now across the board in every province is that every new build needs to have X number of accessible units.
Right.
That's good. So, but for example, in a place like Canmore, the new apartments that are being built are often like uphill, and they're built with stairs that are just like massive.
Yeah.
There's like it's like the ski chalet like design
Right,
is
right.
not inclusive. And in terms of the affordable housing, that quote unquote affordable housing, like with Canmore Community Housing, for example, they're a wonderful organization. They help a lot of people, but they only have a very small number of units that are accessible. And I'm sure there's more people with disabilities applying for those spots than there are spaces. In my personal experience, I've had to really just kick butt and make do. Like, my legs have gotten stronger because I've had to do stairs because I couldn't find a room to rent at my budget that didn't have that. But I really feel for people who can't just push themselves and they physically, literally cannot do it.
We've covered it before. Like in our infancy, there was, I think, one person saying, like, constantly looking for a place. I'm not, forget the name now, but that was the issue. It was finding a suitable place that was affordable. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
what are some of the ways forward? Like I know Banff specifically, a lot of the new builds are all going in with universal design. That's something that's moving forward.
Yes,
be addressed.
and I know Banff and the Banff mayor in particular is passionate about making Banff as accessible as possible. I hope that Canmore will follow, in that direction, and I'm going to do my best to help with that. But we need as many people, even without disabilities, like writing to the town, writing to the councillors, writing to Canmore Community Housing, writing to even the developers building the buildings, or going right to them and saying, so for your accessible units, who with disabilities or impairments are you consulting? And to that point, because this is such a big issue, I've decided to start my own accessibility consulting small business. So
Amazing.
it's called Breaking Barriers Accessibility Consulting. And so if there are any businesses or individuals or developers that would like to ensure that they're meeting that kind of universal design, I'm available to help with that, and I hope that more people will get on board.
For sure, because like I mentioned earlier in that mountain bike trail thing, it's like it doesn't take much to be accessible, built right the first time, and it actually will benefit more people, aging population. One thing that keeps hitting me is the acquired disabilities thing. Like, anyone can acquire one at some
any
point,
time,
right?
Yeah.
So,
to varying levels,
exactly.
right? And if you think about it can be just as simple as, is there a lot of stairs going to this entrance? If there are stairs, do we have sturdy railings? Is there a wheelchair ramp? Because if there's not a ramp, then there's no way that anyone who needs to be in a wheelchair or a motorized device can access it. So for example, like right here in the town hall, I've brought this up to the town many times and they haven't done anything about it. And I was in Calgary at the Foothills Hospital yesterday, in a freaking hospital. They say there's an accessible washroom. There's no button to open the door. So you have to wait for someone to open the door. They can say it's accessible because inside there's a stall that's big enough to accommodate the device. Well, it doesn't help very much if you can't get in.
You can't get in there. It doesn't really work out.
I feel like that would start at the door.
Yeah, and that just boggles my mind, because whenever I bring it up, people are like, oh, we never thought of that.
It's like, how am I supposed to get into the accessible stall, like, first of all?
And it's really frustrating when people with disabilities are forced to ask for help when they could do it if they had the proper tools. So it's almost like, is the person that disabled, or is it the environment that's not allowing for the access?
Interesting point.
And that's the point that I always kind of stick on. Because, for example, in universities, they have to have a certain number of buildings with door opening buttons. The main buildings have to have those. And so I would just like to see, Canada needs to get on board with a national accessibility act. And municipally, we could just make a policy town-wide that the new developments need to be accessible. There needs to be a door opening button if they're going to put the bloody sign up that says it's accessible, because let me frickin' tell you, it's not. And it shouldn't just be me complaining about it.
For sure. I think it's just, you would be the one to notice it, right? If it's not,
it doesn't affect you
tend to overlook it, for sure.
And I don't blame people for that. I don't expect average people that are walking around to notice these things, but my biggest issue is the people in leadership positions that should know better.
Well, there should be representation there for everyone.
Exactly.
Right? What do you think we can do in the Bow Valley long term to make this place more livable for people with disabilities?
Well, first I would go back to the affordability piece, because people with disabilities have, on average, a higher cost of living that is 20 to 25% higher than the average person. That's for medication or equipment or having to have a care provider. just any number of things.
Or Botox or whatever.
Yes, exactly. And that's true. Like for me personally, yeah, my expenses are higher. So I think, having more grants available, that kind of thing for subsidies. Mm-hmm. And then on an infrastructural level, like I said, these developers that are building these condos and things like that, they need to hire an accessibility advisor to be part of the engineering team and part of the oversight. And that's why I'm starting to offer the services that I am. And I hope it'll just become commonplace that'll be part of the process. And if you want to look at it from a purely fiduciary, economic perspective, making your condo or your hotel accessible is going to attract a wider array of people.
Of course.
And people that have family members with disabilities, say, or close friends, if they go to visit, they might mention, oh yeah, I stayed at this place and it was actually, I think maybe I could bring my grandmother, or, it's just it just makes sense.
It's actually good for business. That's the thing.
Yes.
Every time you look at making these changes, people always say it on the flip side or the way to...
It's money.
It's like, it's money.
Always money.
Like, you want to put a ramp, it's going to be more money. You want to do this, it's going to be more accessible, it's going to be more money. It's like, well, it's actually going to bring you more money as a business to be more accessible because more people can spend money in your business.
Right, and then you can say you're inclusive and actually have the integrity behind that statement and actually be inclusive, which should be great.
I've heard there's been some recent cutbacks to the AISH.
The AISH program.
AISH program? What is that? What are the cutbacks? What's been going on that
front? So the AISH program is Alberta's version of a disability benefit. So each province has their own disability support program. So it provides economic support for people with disabilities, and I think there's over 500,000 Albertans that receive it.
Wow.
So as far as I'm aware, the changes that are being made by the government is no surprise because it's ultra-conservative. They're trying to make cutbacks to everything that they possibly can, which is hurting so many people, from education and healthcare, so it just follows along the trend. But what's happening is that they're going to be reevaluating everyone that is on AISH, that receives AISH. So people will have to be reevaluated by their doctors to see if they still qualify.
Wow.
And then people that are deemed by the heads of that government program, people that are deemed more able to work will receive less money.
That sucks. Seems like a step backwards.
Yes, and they'll have to then reapply to receive any money at all. So I think within the next 6 months, people are going to have to start reapplying. And also, one of the really frustrating things is the Alberta government is not really even announcing this anywhere.
So I found this shift during COVID, right? And when governments are implementing rules that impact major populations, I feel like they choose the populations that are least likely to fight back. Right? So like when cutting disabled people and not talking about it, is it something that they're just trying to save money to a population that already has so much going on in their lives that to actually physically mobilize and fight against this, it's probably not in the cards, right?
Absolutely. Actually, you're nailing that from a sociological perspective, like looking at the social dynamics of it. For sure, yeah, it's easier to cut back on a group of people that are already disenfranchised, and it will be, the mothers or the caregivers or the fathers of people that are receiving it that are going to do the advocacy. Like, not everyone that has a disability is going to be able to advocate for themselves. And it just seems like really crappy. It just seems like they're just trying to get away with it to lower their bottom line. And I've heard that this is not the first time that they've tried cutting the program. So I heard that when Danielle Smith first came into power, after Rachael Notley, that she tried to say that we don't really need the AISH program. Like, we could maybe get rid of it by half, or...
What would you say to that?
Well, it's just ridiculous. I mean, with the cost of living, the thing is people have this assumption that when you receive income assistance, if you live below, like if you need the money and you're trying to find work, or if you've received disability assistance, like whatever social assistance, that you just like have a free ride. And that's really not the case. Like the amount of money you receive is so negligible, like you can't actually live on it. And then they have caps on how much you can earn, and that's also apparently on the table to be changed from $1,000 a month down to $364.
What?
So
That's wild. Like what's like that's like what, 2 days a month you're allowed to work?
Yeah.
Like if you want to receive your benefits, that's just like
yeah, and then they
seems
cut
wild
it
to me.
back dollar per dollar
That's
after
wild.
that. And so you have Paula, my colleague Paula, who heads up the Bow Valley Equine Adaptive and is one of the board members there. She put it really succinctly when she said that, having a disability shouldn't mean that you live in poverty.
For sure.
But, it does. And it also doesn't really incentivize people to work if they know that it's going to be cut back.
Right?
Right?
So it's maybe doing the opposite of what it's meant to do.
Yeah, and I don't know if people know that it's not just the disability assistance, but the regular income assistance program as well. Like you can only work so much before you're taken off it completely. And so there's just a lot of misunderstanding.
Very good point. I think especially around income assistance, there is just a lot of general misunderstanding and a lot of, again, stereotype against, oh man, living on the pogue or whatever, like you said, being painted as a certain way.
People need benefits for all kinds of situations.
Sure.
People leaving domestic violence situations, for example, can receive the benefits. There's the caregivers portion of it if they have children. If you're fighting an addiction and you need help and you need housing, like you need funding for that.
Oh yeah, big time.
And to be able to have the housing first and then get the support that you need. And in terms of the disability assistance across this country, the amount that you receive is so low, and it's only as high as it is because nonprofit grassroots organizations and individuals have fought back and said this is not enough.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would be negligible.
Even lower, for sure.
And I think if people who were in a place of judgment or those who are running the programs actually had to live on that amount, even for, say, like a month or two.
No doubt, yeah, that would change your perspective.
Yeah,
pretty
you'd very
friggin'
quickly realize.
Yes,
that.
often we encounter that is the case, right? People that are making the policies are very out of touch with the reality of what the policies are affecting, unfortunately.
Yeah, from
That'd be a
my
nice
own
social experiment.
personal research, I haven't found any minister of persons with disabilities or social services that have had a disability.
I find that the case a lot.
Yeah.
Like people just making rules and regulations that have no idea. Like I grew up, like my dad's a firearms instructor. I grew up competition, cowboy western shooting, being a nerd out there. And it's like the gun policies, like the firearms policies that they put in the past couple of years, it's like I can guarantee not a single person on that entire board has either shot or owned a firearm.
Right, and they're making all these policies.
Or have gone through the process of trying to obtain one legally, and it's just like...
Well, it comes back to making assumptions, right?
Right. They're just like, oh yeah, everybody's lumped into this one box, like let's just do it this way and they'll figure it out. Like it's just insane.
Yeah, and then I think they just have this expectation that people won't complain because it takes too much energy. And your example just goes to show that it's across the board.
Yeah, it's not limited to any one group of people. Like it's just, it could literally be like anything. It's just like your public transit. It's like, when was the last time you took public transit? Why the hell are you in charge of making cuts to this? You know what I mean?
Or if we want to have a more local example, it's like the person that designed the god-awful intersection downtown here. Ooh. Well, I'm sorry, I have to bring it up.
Yeah.
They're in Europe somewhere, and they've never been here. And they spent all this money.
The one where you can't see the stoplights if you stop at the line?
Right.
Yeah, that worked out great.
Yeah.
That's sweet.
And there's actually a petition going around to get it changed.
Yeah, wow.
I just hope that they would this time hire someone who actually lives here and is familiar with the geography.
For sure.
So again, hire people that are actually affected and living around these areas, whether it's a crosswalk or a disability or a firearms See?
I think I would agree. I think everyone can get behind you on that.
I do.
Do you ever think about your younger self growing up in Canmore? What would you say to that little girl now with all you've been through in your life and all the advocacy that you've done?
I love that question. I was a little fighter. Yeah, I took no shit even as a little girl. I'd be like running around in my tier, and then if people would look at me, I'd be like, "What?"
That's awesome.
You know. So I think I would just tell her to keep going and to not worry about. Yeah, don't worry about so much about people's experiences of you, because your experience of your own life and of other people is what matters, and
right.
It's your willingness to be authentic and find out who you are and like actually live what you believe, which is really hard. It's not easy
For sure.
to say this is what I believe in and then live that, but I think we can all work on that. But I would just tell her to like keep going, and I think she figured it out, so I'm pretty
Nice.
proud. Yeah.
When you think of
Awesome.
the next 5 to 10 years of your life, what are you most hopeful for?
So I've just started my accessibility consulting
Right.
business. So
Congratulations again.
yeah, thanks. So I'm gonna do that, and then also I've decided to start actually selling some of my poetry.
Amazing.
And I'm going to offer a custom poetry service.
Cool.
So if anyone wants a custom written poem for a family member, a loved one, whoever it is, you get to pick your theme, your font, that kind of thing.
Amazing.
That's a cool
What a
idea.
cool
I
service,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, decided to do that. I don't know. I like the idea of doing multiple things and not just sort of one job or one thing. So I'm just excited to see what comes. But yeah, those two businesses, and then I also wrote a book when I was 18 on my experience growing up with my disability.
Mm-hmm.
I've had 6 orthopedic surgeries to be able to keep walking, and I wrote about that in my book. And so my hope is to get that published, and I'd love to go around to schools and talk about my experiences and maybe help kids that have some differences, feel a little more hopeful. And then for kids that don't understand what a disability is, just helping to spread that information.
It comes down to being seen a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like seeing someone with a disability in a role that you maybe, like in films or in action sports, right? Like we're about to see the para games.
I know,
like,
I'm so excited.
seeing those possibilities are there, right, is super empowering to those communities and those that are surrounding them.
And to everyone else, yeah. I think it's just the representation, and then it gets people's minds thinking like, oh, I didn't think about that.
For sure.
And it if you can move and live from a place of empowerment and open-mindedness, no matter what your ability is, I think that's a good way to go. And I hope people will come to the games and to the Disability Week. And just really take the opportunity to celebrate.
Sounds like an awesome family-friendly time. So if you're out there, definitely make your way. This last question is maybe a little bit for us. I kind of put this last one in for me. Is there a question that you wish people would ask you about your disability, but they never do?
No. No. Less questions are better.
Yeah.
Or no questions. Just ask me normal. Normal questions about everyday life. I think if you were to ask a question, like I loved how open this dialogue was. It was more of a conversation rather than just like a regurgitating information, which I often find myself doing. And I think if you are asking any question of anyone, if it comes from a place of genuine curiosity, you don't have to phrase it perfectly or make sure that you're using the DEI framework or whatever. Just be a kind, respectful human.
And often that's probably the easiest route anyways. Just be a
Exactly.
kind person. So
To everyone.
amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us, Rachel. This has been really, really great chat, really eye-opening. And again, I think the main kind of idea that I'm taking away from this episode is disabled people are just like us, you know? Just treat them the same.
And
like,
anyone can acquire a disability
For sure.
or an injury, and so
Or
you might
through
not
age.
exactly.
So-
And that is I'm learning that is a disability. Like, I don't know what happened. Like, I feel like when you hit 30, you're just like, oh god, your whole body starts to slow
I just
down.
hit 40 this spring, and I'm like,
Does it
whoa.
get worse?
Yes, yes, it does. I'm sorry to
Do
break it to you.
keep hearing that.
It slightly. I mean, I started acquiring a little bit of a beer belly, but whatever.
Yeah.
Getting the dad bod going.
You live with the changes.
That's
I think
right.
just be open-minded, accepting, and be curious to learn. You know,
For sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
it's look at it as an opportunity to learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much again. If it is your first time listening, please hit the like and subscribe. A bunch of people tune in all the time. They never subscribe. Whatever.
Subscribe.
Please,
It's
please.
helpful.
That's it.
Right?
It's very helpful.
And this conversation has been amazing. Like, these guys are awesome. You need to subscribe. Like, the conversation is so easygoing.
Well, we appreciate that. It's it's part of what we do. Just try to get down to the roots of
Whatever you're talking about.
exactly. You know,
Yeah.
we're not professionals on anything. We don't claim to be.
Yeah.
No, it's fantastic.
Everyone's opinion is valid as the next, and you've shed some really good light on your situation and the
Thank
situation,
you.
the reality of a lot of our neighbors. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I
Important to take into
hope
account.
that people will celebrate the International Day of Persons with Disabilities no matter where you are. Maybe reach out to some organizations that support people with disabilities and come and check out our events. If you want to visit canmore.ca/IDPD, you will find the whole schedule of events. And go check it out.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you so much to Drink Shaft, our original sponsor. You can get them at Townhouse Liquor. You can also find them at the Rose and Crown.
Heck yeah.
Our homies over there, always having a great time.
Nice.
And that's all the time we got for this week. So thanks again for tuning in. Like every week.
See you next Tuesday.